Destiny Part 2. After several months had passed, Destiny returned to confront Goodwill with a startling revelation. She informed him that she was pregnant and that she needed money to terminate the pregnancy. Goodwill's initial reaction was one of disbelief and laughter. He dismissed her claims as an attempt to accuse him falsely, insisting that there was no way she could be pregnant. Destiny, hurt and frustrated by his response, pressed him for an explanation, only to be met with more denial and anger. Their confrontation escalated into a heated argument, culminating in Destiny telling Goodwill that their relationship was over and demanding that he leave her house. Heartbroken but resolute, Destiny used the money she had secured from Goodwill to devise a plan for retribution. She meticulously orchestrated a scheme to place Goodwill in a situation reminiscent of the one he had created for her. Her plan involved an intricate series of actions designed to catch him completely off guard. Destiny's first step was to visit the schools attended by Goodwill's children, hoping to find an opportunity to confront him there. However, her attempts were thwarted by the school authorities, who denied her access. Frustrated but undeterred, she decided to change her approach. With Christmas approaching, she recognized an opportunity to strike during the holiday season when the entire Goodwill family would be at home. On Christmas Eve, Destiny made her way to Goodwill's house. Her familiarity with the household, having visited frequently when his wife was away, proved advantageous. She slipped in unnoticed, taking advantage of the absence of the family's watchdog. Destiny managed to secure the dog in its kennel and lock the building's gate behind her, ensuring that her presence would not be easily detected. Once inside the house, she locked the entrance to prevent any potential escape. The tension in the air was palpable as Destiny navigated through the house to the living room, where she knew Goodwill and his family would be gathered. As she entered the room, she saw Mr. Goodwill and his 3 daughters sitting together, engaged in holiday preparations. The look of shock and confusion on Goodwill's face as he saw Destiny was almost satisfying. Without hesitation, Destiny brandished a gun, aiming it directly at him. The sight of the weapon sent the daughters into a frenzy of panic, their screams piercing through the festive atmosphere. The commotion quickly drew the rest of the family into the living room. The once joyful ambience of Christmas Eve was shattered by the sudden and intense situation unfolding before them. Destiny's plan had worked perfectly. She had succeeded in bringing all the family members into one place, exactly as she had intended. The weight of the moment hung heavily in the room. Destiny's heart raced as she took in the expressions of shock, fear, and anger surrounding her. The tension was almost unbearable, and it was clear that no one knew what to expect next. Goodwill's eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and desperation, met Destiny's unwavering gaze. As the seconds ticked by, the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. Destiny held her ground, the gun steady in her hand. The family's fate now rested in her hands, and the choices she made in the next few moments would determine the outcome of her long and intricate plan. GINIA again. Please hit the subscribe button so I can create beautiful stories like this one. Destiny, overcome with rage. And Betrayal, shot Mr. Goodwill on his penis with a revolver, leaving him in excruciating pain and permanently infertile. She then turned to his wife, demanding an apology for the years of deception and heartbreak she had endured. The wife, horrified and in shock, refused to apologize, leading Destiny to turn her gun on the 3 innocent children. The sound of gunfire echoed throughout the house, followed by the blood-curdling screams of Mrs. Goodwill. The neighbors, alerted by the screams, rushed into the house to find the 3 children dead and Mrs. Goodwill crying hysterically. Destiny, still holding the gun, stood tall and defiant, stating that she was willing to face the consequences of her actions. The police arrived on the scene and arrested Destiny, who was brought before a judge for her crimes. During her trial, Destiny recounted the years of betrayal and deception she had endured at the hands of Mr. Goodwill. She told the court about how he had seduced her, promised her a life together, and then abandoned her for his wife. The jury was sympathetic to her story, but ultimately found her guilty of murder and sentenced her to life imprisonment. In prison, Destiny became a celebrity of sorts, with journalists, news stations, and radio stations all wanting to hear her story. She told her story to anyone who would listen, becoming known as Destiny, the woman who sought revenge. Mr. Goodwill, meanwhile, was left to deal with the consequences of his actions. He was left infertile, his children were dead, and his wife had left him. The once powerful businessman was now a shell of his former self, broken and alone, a tragic figure. Destiny's story became a cautionary tale, reminding people of the dangers of deception and the importance of facing the consequences of their actions. Years passed, and Destiny remained in prison, her story fading from the public consciousness. However, her legacy lived on, inspiring others to stand up for themselves and to not be taken advantage of. Meanwhile, Mr. Goodwill continued to live a solitary life, his once great empire reduced to a mere shadow of its former self. He would spend his remaining days reflecting on his past actions, haunted by the memory of Destiny and the tragedy that had befallen him. The end. Moral lesson: do not date a married man. Do not lie. Do not put your hands into diabolic stuff. Also, do not commit murder cause you will be punished for it. Please subscribe to my channel so I can bring you more beautiful stories. Stay tuned.